Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fair Game Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Smith. Today's guest joins us from Iowa, where he serves on the board of directors for the Delaware County Fair. Located in Manchester, Iowa, the annual fair runs July 8 to 14 this year and attracts approximately 42,000 guests. Folks, this is Kurt Palmer. Welcome to the show, Kurt. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
No, I'm doing real well, man. Listen, you've been on that board for a while. I think you probably know that fair as good as anyone. Tell us about the Delaware County Fair.
Yeah. So I've been on the board for, I think this is my upcoming 13th fair. Been around our fair though for over 30 some years. My dad's been on the board, and so I've haven't missed a fair, I guess, since I was I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. So our fair is a 7-day fair. 6 days of them are a paid gate. We have a free opening night. And it's I think 156 years old this year, or right
Wow.
around there, maybe off a year or so. And so we have all kinds of ag education and grandstand events, and it's a big event for our county every year.
Excellent. How do you think that fair has grown? Like, what do you see the growth that's happened in the time that you've been on the board?
From the time I've been on the board, I guess, obviously we have seen some attendance change over the years. Uh, Thinking back from what I remember as a kid, I mean, it's hard to explain how much it has changed and stuff. And I think a lot of times people in our community, they always think that we haven't had a lot of change over the years, and there's so much change. But for us, there's a lot of things that have changed, especially infrastructure for us. We've grown a lot in that area. Obviously, contract or concerts and stuff, those have just gotten bigger every year, it seems like. And so that's something big. Our barns are overflowing with animals, and so we have a good problem that we have to deal with all the time.
Well, I tell you, growth is a good problem. It can cause trouble sometimes. In that process, it can be definitely be a difficult thing. But if you're growing, you're getting more attendance, you got more, more permanent facilities on site. Do you have a permanent grandstand facility, or because I haven't been on your grounds yet, or do you like set up the stage?
So we do have permanent grandstands. As far as concert stage, we do bring in hydraulic stages for that event. We also have some concerts in the back of our property that we bring in another hydraulic stage for. But yeah, grandstands get used, you know, sometimes year round, depending on we do other concerts and other events on the grandstands throughout the year also. So.
It sounds like you've got a lot of concerts going on for a small town. Manchester's. What's your population in the county there in Delaware County?
I think it's close to, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's close to like 20,000 somewhere in there. And I could be off, some, but the town of Manchester is right around 6,000 people.
So
So
your attendance, obviously, you got some people you're counting twice that are coming back multiple days, but you're essentially 7xing your town's attendance when you bring that fair into town.
yeah,
And
we have
go ahead.
we have kind of a unique, I don't know, in Iowa here, we have a lot of county fairs on top of each other. And
Yep.
so all of our surrounding fairs and stuff, we try not to be on top of each other's dates, but it happens sometimes. And so a lot of our fair people, our guests that come in, yes, we have a lot of locals, but we do pull from all over Iowa, plus, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota. So
Sure.
good variety.
Sure. Especially if you got a good concert going on, you're gonna draw. Really, it was such a surprise to me the first time when I went to. I'll give Great Jones County Fair as an example. The level of entertainment that Lucas has at that fair. I mean, they had the first year that I was there, Lady Annabelle was supposed to come play, and I guess they ended up something came up at the last minute, and I want to say they replaced him with Three Doors Down, and like last year they had Pitbull. Like these are shows you expect to be that would be in Des Moines, but to get them in small towns like yours, who are some of the artists that you've had that have really attracted a huge crowd?
I would say our biggest concerts as far as numbers at the time of the concert is we had ZZ Top one year and John Party, back-to-back nights. And those were definitely our big concerts that we had. Like I said, at the time, we've had a lot of big names over the years that weren't quite to, big time status, I guess you could say. But we've had Brad Paisley and some of those big time guys now that when they're up and coming and stuff, and we were starting out in concerts years ago. But yeah, it's fun, but it can also be the stressful part of the industry. But there's so much more than just concerts.
What about those events makes them stressful?
I think a lot of it with the entertainment is, I guess for us is you do stick a lot of money into the concerts themselves. And it's kind of one of those things that you hope and pray that you have good weather, and they want paid regardless. And so, we've ran into issues where we have to pay, some groups that may not have gotten on to the stage and stuff because of weather or whatever. And so, but they're also one of those that, you could make some money on, to help put the rest of the things on in the fair though also. So
Sure. So looking forward to 2024, what are your goals for this year's fair?
this year we have some of the main things I guess that are coming back and stuff are normals that are always a big thing. We have a few things I can't release quite yet and stuff that are going to be new this year, that some events that we've done in years and years ago that we're going to actually bring some back. And so as far as goals, we're hoping for good weather. Last year was really rainy for us, and I
Cross your fingers.
entertainment business in general, but hope for good attendance and weather and stuff for people to come out and enjoy the fair. And so it's always fun planning a year and a half in advance of the next fair. So
Yeah, it feels like even being on the entertainment side of it, I'm always existing 18 months ahead of where I actually am in the real world. When I'm
yep.
already booking stuff for 25 and 26, and I'm like, oh wait, I still have to do all these contracts in 2024. It's easy to kind of get ahead of yourself. Um, but yeah, man. So I'm curious. Manchester's a small town. You're not far from Dyersville. That's what are you, 20 minutes to Dyersville?
Yep.
And for anybody listening, the reason I ask is because one of my favorite places I've ever visited outside of the fairs is in Dyersville. Kurt, you know what it is. Anybody who's a baseball fan knows what it is. So it's the baseball field they use, the farm they use for Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner is located in Dyersville. How big an impact does that site have on your region?
It's starting to have even a bigger effect. They just have, and I'm not 100% sure. It was a couple years ago it got passed and stuff, but they're making a big multi-field complex around the site.
Right.
And they've been having one major league game there every year where they literally build the stands for people to come into. And I've had friends that have actually been at the games and stuff, and it's a big deal. I know every time at convention, people, you say Iowa and they say, oh, Field of Dreams, and
Yep.
like, yeah, we're 20 minutes away. And
Yep.
we forget we just took our kids there probably 2 years ago for the first time, and I got high schoolers, so it's so close you just don't like think of going to it. I got friends that go every year also, but to watch the Ghost players and stuff. But yeah, it's a big attraction, for the area and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm grateful for having been given the chance to come work in Iowa. Those times that, some of the times the jumps in Iowa, for one, anybody in the entertainment industry who knows you're making sometimes 8, 10, 17-hour jumps. If you can get into Iowa in July and August, like your biggest jump might be 3 hours. Your shortest jump might be like 43 minutes. And on a couple of those jumps that I had, one time I go in there and I was only like an hour from my next stop. And so I had extra like the 2 days between fairs, and I went to the Field of Dreams. It was absolutely amazing. Sarah and Nate were with me, got to play catch with my son on the field. So man, what a cool thing. Like I was claimed to fame. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. Right. And probably one of the most misquoted movie quotes of all time. Because how many times have you heard someone say, if you build it, they will come?
All the time.
Hey, man, like 2024, we got to get the pronouns right. It's if you build it, he will come, which ultimately people always think that that refers to Joe Jackson in the movie, and it doesn't. You remember who it refers to?
I don't.
It's been a long time since seeing the movie. So Ray Kinsella, Kevin Costner's character at the end, his father, it turns out to be one of the players that have come back through the corn. And so if you build it, he will come. All the ghost voices referring to ease his pain, all those things, it's all referring to John Kinsella, his father. And it's one of those things that's like when you're a baseball fan and at the end of the movie he says, "Hey dad, you want to have a catch?" It's like, oh, it hits you right in the feels. Right in the feels. Anyhow, so anybody listening, man, if you haven't gone and checked out some of these fairs in Iowa, you absolutely have to. And speaking of, if someone came to Manchester for the first time, they want to come check out the Delaware County Fair, they call you up, they say, "Hey, Kurt, we're coming to the fair and bringing my kids." What should a day the Delaware County Fair look like?
So for us, we kind of have some pride in our fair of, and I would say we're a little unique in this area, is we pretty much have a pay one price to get in our fair. And when you're in there, everything's pretty much free. And so our
That
carnival,
includes concerts, the main stage,
yeah,
everything.
if you want to sit in the grandstands, they're free to watch, whatever that is. All of our carnival rides are free. And so when families come in, let's say a family of four, they for under $30 or less, they can come in and have all kinds of stuff to go to. Obviously, food and drinks and stuff like
Now, when you
that.
say 30 or less, is that per person or that's a total, like a family of four?
No, that'd be a total. Um,
Wow.
we're yeah, for 30, like I said, depends on the age of the kids and stuff. Younger kids are even 11 and under. Yeah, for $30 or so, you can come in and, like you said, ride all the rides you want until your tummy feels like it doesn't want to, and go to a concert and watch that for free. Now, our track, we do charge for our track seats,
Okay.
um, or standing room only, but we
So if
kind of
they
look,
wanted to get up close, if they're like the huge ZZ Top fan and they want to get up close, it'll cost them a few bucks extra. But if they would just want to chill in the grandstand, it's free.
yep, 100%.
Wow.
And then all of our other activities and stuff we have going on as far as any free on ground shows and different bands we have playing, all of our 4-H and FFA shows. We try to literally take everything that we have money wise and stick back into the fair, just
Nice.
so when they come, a lot of our board members and staff and stuff, you go to some places and it's constantly you're getting out your checkbook and having to pay for this or pay for that. And so we have free parking. Come in and, like I said, pay at the gate and have fun. We hope you stay all day and enjoy yourself. So the good part about it, I feel like we have so much stuff going on. You do see a lot of people coming back the second day because, hey, we couldn't get through everything. And that's a pride thing for us. We want that.
It sounds like you guys deliver a lot of value to the guests.
We try.
Try. Does that mean you don't always? Because from what you're telling me, I'm like,
Yeah.
good God, for $30 or so for a family of four, there's no fair I know of that. I mean, obviously, Iowa, there are some of those fairs that it's just free to get in and they're entirely sponsor driven. But for most fairs that are charging a gate, I don't know any place that you're going to get in for $30 and just get everything for free.
Yeah. Like I said, we try to make sure, that we're getting as much entertainment and much activities and stuff for people, and don't make them break the bank, I guess, and just provide as much as we can for them.
Sure. In your time as a board member, you've no doubt seen some challenges with the fair. I mean, obviously, we're coming out of the pandemic over the last couple of years and trying to recover from that. But even before that, no doubt I mean, any fair is going to have challenges. Can you talk about some of those challenges that you all have faced and how you've approached resolving them?
Yeah, one that comes to mind that I was pretty heavily in at the time is we had a couple tornadoes in town. one night. And when you have a lot of people on the grounds, that was definitely probably one of the most stressful nights that we have had. And we did all kinds of training for it. And I was super pleased with our staff and our board. We actually, not knowing this, we actually did a mock drill of a tornado 3 days prior to this.
Wow.
Just
Talk
as
about
a
lucky timing, right?
precautionary, let's see how things work. We learned a lot, and by doing that. And so that night was definitely a stressful one, trying to keep people safe and communicate. And we learned a lot by it also that night. And we went back to our emergency plan afterward and said, definitely some changes we have to make with it. Another thing that we tend to deal with quite a bit is we are really a flat ground. We don't have much elevation on our whole grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we do have water, we have issues, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something, it's great for setting up vendors and stuff. They love it. It's like, oh, you don't need, or even campers, you don't need blocks under your tires. Like we're flat,
Right.
which is great when it's dry. When it's wet, we have some issues. And that's actually something we're looking at right now and thinking long term of what we can do to try to minimize some of those. But the typical everyday things, that's always going to be a challenge. I will say our staff and our board are top notch as far as coming together when times are tough for us and we're in I don't want to say a panic mode, but more of a time crunch.
Right.
Like we get people out of the woodwork, not just in our community that help us too, but our board and our staff are really good. I feel like sometimes we work better when we're in those situations than when everything's calm and we're always looking at each other like, all right, what's about to happen? Just because we do seem to strive in those. So
Got it. So it sounds like your board really is a very hands-on board and they're willing to get involved.
yeah, for sure. Yep. They're all volunteer board and we have staff, full-time and part-time staff at our fair. We have a manager, a full-time manager, and then about 2 to 4 part-time, full-time employees throughout the year and stuff. And so um, yeah, for the most part, everyone's a hands-on group because we have to be. So
Excellent. Looking at our industry at large, there's really good things about our industry and there's things that we can certainly improve. What do you see as one of the strengths of our industry?
I would say it's definitely the networking and collaboration of the industry. Like, I don't know very many businesses, and if you look at fairs, yes, they are educational purposed for agriculture, but it's also a business. And if you look at how fairs actually talk with each other and literally give them a blueprint of something that they're doing for you to succeed, and maybe the same type of event, you usually don't get that when in other businesses, and so that is something that I've always truly enjoyed. Your best friends, you can call them up and say, hey, we're running into this, what are your thoughts or whatever? And they'd be like, hey, we ran into this and I have, this document for you, and they'll send it right away. And so
Yeah,
I love that part of the fair industry, that we all want everyone to do well. Our county is next to us. When their fair is going on, there's so many phone calls and stuff. We want nothing but the best for them. And I
sure.
feel like every fair is that way. Like we want everyone to succeed. So
Yeah, I'm a member of several state organizations and I've done fairs all over the country. Iowa's is special in that way. Certainly other fairs in other states will connect and support with each other. But I think Iowa geographically makes that even more possible because your counties are so small and they're close together. You know, within an hour to 90 minutes tops, you've got a dozen fairs that are all around you and fair boards where if you're like, oh man, our something happened to our bleachers, we need a set of bleachers, Jones County or whoever's down the road's like, we'll get them to you. When you compare to a fair like in Texas, even as close as the Texas Association is together, the geography just makes that very difficult because where you guys might have 12 fairs within 90 minutes, they might be 4 hours between, because it's just so spread and so big out there in Texas. So you guys have a real unique thing with the geography to be able to work so closely together. Let's switch gears for a second because I want listeners to get to know who Kurt Palmer is away from the fair, who you are personally. Obviously, you're heavily involved in the fair. You have a rich history through your family lineage of being involved with that fair, but you don't actually make your living at the fair. You're an educator. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I am an industrial arts teacher at Macocata Valley High School in Delhi, minutes away from where I live in Manchester, just outside of Manchester. And so I went to college years ago to be
How
industrial
many
arts
years ago,
teacher.
Kurt?
My students think that I'm 60 something years old, but that's not
Wow.
the case. I just gray a lot earlier, but so in early 2000 stuff, I was in college, and that was a passion of mine to get into industrial arts education, and decided at the time there was a whole bunch of things going on with the state where they were starting to get rid of those programs. And so because of it, there wasn't as many openings and stuff. And so I ended up working a few other jobs, worked with my brother for a little bit, and then I worked construction with my uncle for I think 11, 12 years, something like that, somewhere around
Wow.
there. And um, yeah, found out about the school, like I said, not too far from us, looking for an industrial arts teacher, and
And
kind of,
industrial arts, is that what we would have called shop class back
yeah,
in the
sure.
day?
Yep.
So woodworking, metalworking, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, it used to be called industrial arts, and then it turned to technology education.
Hmm.
And now they've actually transitioned back to industrial arts, more or less shop classes. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean that's what we called it. I'm trying to think. I'm having this image, a snapshot of my report cards, and I think it was industrial arts back when I was in middle school in the early 90s. And I won't say how long ago that was, but yeah, there's something. Are this now? You're dealing with high school kids, correct?
correct.
There was something back in the day that was, looking back, that's terrifying about middle school kids and power saws. And I don't know how we all survived it with all 10 fingers intact.
Yeah, there, even with high schoolers and stuff. I mean, sometimes it's hard for me to think about. I grew up around tools my whole life. My
Sure.
family has been hands-on. And so, when I was 5 years old, I was probably running miter saws and stuff like that, and
Yep.
um, I get some of my students and stuff that they know absolutely nothing about, some of these tools. But to me, that's what's fun. Like I look back at my industrial arts teachers and think of them, that they're the ones that got me excited,
Yeah.
about the trades and stuff. And I feel like that's what I get to do now. I get a lot of the students that don't necessarily may enjoy science and math and history and stuff like that. And they come down into my classes and they just absolutely strive.
Yep.
They're top-notch students all around anyway. And I tell them all the time, I wasn't that way. If I could take a shop class over a math class, I'm taking a shop class, because I'm very hands-on, and I
Yeah.
got to stay busy with that stuff. So it's been a true blessing for me to work with the kids, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that they still got schools that are teaching that because, my wife's an assistant principal in elementary school. So obviously you're not dealing with shop and classes like that at the elementary level, but I think we've seen it as a trend across the nation. First they were cutting music classes, then they were cutting drama departments, then they were cutting shop class and metalworking and all these things that ultimately are stepping stones to the trades. Like, listen, you can say all you want and hear the politicians say, oh, everybody needs to go to college. No, they don't. No, they don't. My thing is like if you need a professional degree because you're going to be an educator or a veterinarian or doctor, lawyer, etc., then go get a professional degree. But I had a couple friends who went out and they became electricians, and the money they make now, by now, is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. No degree. They went and got their training certificate from whatever, local technical institute was around. Unbelievable what they can make now. And I think, and I'm wondering if you would agree, we need more of that in schools.
Absolutely. Like I, so I got to see, the ups and the downs of the education system, when I was in school, and they were, at that time, they were really pushing everyone has to have a 4-year degree,
Yeah.
and I think they pushed so many into that we lost some of our trades, um, personnel and students or whatever. And now it's been the complete opposite. Now there is not enough of them in
Yep.
manufacturing worlds and construction worlds, all that stuff. And so because of it, now they're pushing so hard and they're trying to get more and more kids involved in those programs.
Yeah.
There, I mean, there's always a shortage for teachers, and industrial arts is definitely one of them. Also, just because that in those trades there's some good money to be made and stuff. I actually have some students of mine that are part-time, and if you look at what they make hourly compared to, let's say, what my contract is, they literally make more as high schoolers in some of these trades
Yeah.
than, myself teaching them the skill and stuff and getting them started in a career path and stuff. And yeah, there's some good money to be made on them. And I am one of those teachers that I will tell the kids, college is not for everyone. There
Yep.
are certain subjects or careers you want to go into that these companies actually will pay you for the education. Go work for them. I mean, I learned so much. I went to, college, but I learned so much in construction, actually doing the jobs and stuff. And I had probably the best, teacher around as far as my uncle that
Yep.
and in construction, pretty much his whole life. And it can't compare, to
Yeah.
college. So
Yeah. I mean, college has its benefits. But I just think of when you're looking financially at lifetime economics, and if somebody wanted to start their own business, and I mean, you talk about job security, plumbers are always going to be a thing. Electricians are always going 500 years from now, there will be some kind of electrician or plumber or but will there be YouTubers? Probably not, So I mean, I just think I think that's cool that you're into the industrial arts and teaching and helping support, that stepping stone for the trades. At the same time, man, I know because I got a wife in education, y'all schedules are ridiculous. How in the heck do you balance being a teacher and dealing with the fair board?
a good calendar. How about that?
Good
For
answer.
me, uh, to me, I literally, you have to be organized. And I feel like I'm pretty organized anyway when it comes to stuff. But I look at my calendar, everything goes in it, and day to day, I'm constantly looking at see where I'm supposed to be next. That's what keeps me in line, I guess. Um, I guess as far as the fair and work, I kind of came to a realization a couple years ago. I struggled. This is probably the biggest thing I struggled with the industry, especially with like IFE and committees and stuff. And I just always felt like I wanted to give back. I'm a big volunteer. Like I like to volunteer at a lot of different things, and not just fair and stuff. But I kept feeling like I was missing stuff all the time. Like I should be helping my community and helping these organizations or whatever. And I kind of got to the point and realized that other people realize that I do have a career outside of the fair,
Yeah.
and we'll get to what I can get to, and so many people are so understanding of that, and so I appreciate it. And it's not that I want to miss stuff, and it it is a struggle, and I try to preach to some of other people that are having the same struggles, because I know there are
Yeah.
some that you just do what you can. And there's sometimes I can't get to things, on time because of it. And then you throw family on top of that, and it's hard. And my kids
Yep.
are in high school right now, and so we're, glorified Uber drivers and had a different every night, to a different event.
Uncompensated Uber drivers.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I do enjoy it. I love my job. I love going to my kids' stuff, but then I need something. I just had to talk to my daughter the other night, and she'd asked me the question of why do you still do fair stuff? And I said, I feel like everyone need something outside of their job, and for me,
Yeah.
it's just been like a second home to me, and there's times where it's busier for me and not, but I just always enjoyed it. It's fun. My kids have grown up in that fair, and my son, if he's around here, he'll be on the board. I mean, he just
Yeah.
loves that, and so it's been fun.
That makes sense having something outside of your main career. I know years ago, um, before Sarah became an admin, she took a part-time job locally at a retail spot for no other reason than she wanted something to do. And she worked like, I don't know, 18 hours a week for, 2 months over the summer. She would say that was one of her favorite jobs she ever did because she could leave work at work. It was something where she could go do it and then come home. Like, and you probably get this being a teacher, like if you got a cell phone, if you got a way to be contacted, the school day follows you home.
Oh, for sure. That's probably one of the misconceptions of education too,
Yeah, I
is,
was gonna ask you, what do you think one of the biggest misconceptions is about education?
I think a lot of, and like I said, it depends on the person, but I do hear a lot of people, and it's like, it's an 8 to 4 job. You get the summers off, and I will say yes, yes, we do have the summers off. We are paid for our time we're at work, and summers we're not, type deal. But
Right.
uh, it's constant, and every night I come home, me being a shop teacher, I don't do a lot of stuff on my computer during the day for when I don't have time because, I'm doing other things. And um, when I get home, I would say, a good 2 hours each night, sometimes all night,
Yeah.
just trying to catch up with stuff and, keep up with the next day or the week following,
Yep.
coming up and stuff. And so it's more than, yeah, most of them. I'm not saying there isn't some educators that may be able to leave at, contract hours and go home and they don't think of school and, but
I don't know about that.
like,
If you
I
ever meet
just,
one, I'd love to meet him because I've
I
never
know.
known one that stops at
I'm
3:30 when the buses go home.
Yeah, I'm just one of those, like, I just strive to be my best self for my students. And so I'm constantly trying to redo classes and um, try to make it more educational, but also, things that some kids did not find fun and try to teach them in a different way. And so I actually find enjoyment in that. It's almost like a puzzle piece of trying to put those puzzles together. And so it's fun.
Last question before we go into the speed round and wrap this thing up. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Um, I would probably say that people would, I guess, remember me as pretty happy-go-lucky, humorous. I don't let a lot of things bother me and stuff, but that I'm making a difference not only in a career for my students, but also in our community. That a small part. It's not me. We have so many people, but a small part of having these events and different things for our community. And that's a struggle right now. I feel like and not to pick on younger generation, is I don't know if they quite understand that what it takes for volunteers to put on events, not only fair, but other things in their
Yeah.
community. And if that if that generation, um, if we don't continue volunteerism, then we may lose some of those things. And so, and that's one thing our school does strive for, is they really push volunteer and help in our communities and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. We actually do quite a bit in our classes for nonprofits in our communities, and they enjoy it, and they get to see their work out in the communities and stuff. So hopefully I'm, providing that memories of people. So
Excellent. Well, listen, let's wrap it up here. Everybody who comes on the show goes through a little round of speed questions, like a lightning round. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and you just give me your best answer. Are you ready?
sure.
All right. Question number 1: favorite fair food.
I would say a tenderloin. I'm a big fan of breaded tenderloins.
Nice. Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at keeping secrets?
I would say 8 to 9. I'm pretty good about that.
Last song you listened to.
Um, on the way home, I think it was Out Last Night by Kenny Chesney.
All right. Last question. Name a book you would recommend our listeners check out.
That's a fun one for me because I don't typically read.
Okay.
Um, I I'm so into keep my hands dirty and doing stuff. So on off times for me, what I call it shop therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when most people may pick up a book, um,
Mm,
I go to wrench on something or build something that like
got it.
puts these like, so I call it wood shop therapy.
Got it. So you got to work with your hands in your off time.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. Listen, where can folks connect with you and learn more about the Delaware County Fair?
So Delaware County Fair, our website is www.delawarecofair.com.
So
And if
not
they want to
Delaware County Fair, Delaware CO.
full fair, yep.
Got it.
And then my email is Kurt Palmer, DCF, so Delaware County Fair at Gmail.
Easy enough, man. Kurt, really appreciate you coming on the show today. To all 6 of our listeners, we're so glad you joined us this week. One of these days we'll hit 7. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for being on the show. To all you listening, thank you for being here again. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.